so all about DIY worksheets. Okay, first off, I know what you're thinking. I don't have the time. I give my students too many worksheets. I don't want to grade any more worksheets. Our school has a Basil program with all the worksheets I need, and you're right. Teachers have far too little time. We give students too many worksheets, and we often have too much to grade. And Basil programs offer a ton of resources when it comes to worksheets that help us save time and effort. And so, why take the time to create our own? So, I'm going to split this up into 4 sections. Ready? So, first, the secret about worksheets. Now, I know there are many teachers who give out worksheets just because they don't know what else to do, but there are only 2 reasons to use worksheets in the classroom. Reason 1, use a worksheet to take a measure of your students' understanding of the material. Reason 2, build student understanding through practice. That's it. Those 2 are the only reasons. And that keeps you out of busy work because no one likes busy work. And if you ask yourself these questions, will this help me measure student understanding? Will this help my students practice the material in a meaningful way? If you could say yes to both of those, great. If not, don't assign a worksheet. Find another way to fulfill those needs. Number 2, worksheets are a great way to incorporate Common Core state standards. Usually you want to center one worksheet around one standard. For example, I was doing a lesson on fractions for my 4th grade class, and here was the standard. Compare 2 fractions with different numerators and different denominators by creating common denominators or numerators, or by comparing to a benchmark fraction such as 1/2. So when they write it down, they want to write these symbols to describe whether it's greater, equal to, or less than, and then justify those conclusions. I couldn't really find a worksheet that did that. And so I ended up making my own. And of course, using a worksheet, that's to help me know, are they getting this right now? And then I'll give them an actual formal assessment on it later, and that's fine. Number 3, Basil curriculum and worksheets. Basil curriculum. I know a lot of teachers hate them. I have a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes they're great, and sometimes I just don't see where they're getting their material from. And a math Basil usually looks like it's got 2 books. The textbook that explains the content in the lesson, and the workbook with the tear-out pages that the students write in and complete and give to the teacher. Language arts, it's a Basil reader. It's got dozens of short stories for your students and you to read as a class together. And usually the teacher edition has the worksheets that you can use that have grammar, quizzes, and writing prompts. And it's just a really great resource. But there were a couple of problems. So first, some of the lessons in the Basil curriculum have actually nothing to do with the Common Core state standards for my grade level. So here's a story. So that fractions lesson came from a fractions unit that I was planning for my 4th grade class. And I looked at the standards first. What did I want the result to be? And I started planning my unit by looking at those standards and then putting them in a logical order so that the learning would build and scaffold as we progressed. And I put everything together, and then I opened my Basil math book. And nothing looked similar. It was true that they were both about fractions, but some of the things that they did in the Basil just seemed illogical. Like they were teaching adding and subtracting improper fractions and mixed fractions before they taught what a mixed or improper fraction was. But that wasn't my biggest problem. My biggest problem was that I was teaching 4th grade, and this was a 4th grade math Basil, and a lot of the focus was on 5th grade level fractions. Let's assume that I have students in my class performing below grade level, maybe on a 3rd or a 2nd grade level of math understanding. Do I really want to skip 4th grade and teach them 5th grade level fractions? Maybe not, because that's very discouraging, and honestly, it would be a waste of time because I would have to go back. I would have to make sure that they understand. So I don't usually use the Basil worksheets. I come up with my own so that I can meet the needs of those students and scaffold them up to where they could be on level, not above level, Some of them can go above level if they're already at level, but those students that need to be brought to level, I create my own worksheets. So how much is too much? How many worksheets are too much? Well, let me suggest to you that anything more than what's necessary is too much. You just need what gets the job done. Worksheets can be good. They can improve our students' understanding, and they can help us know if there's a concept we should reteach or teach better. But not having a purpose, or saying just, well, they need to have something home for homework, they need to have homework every night, or they need to do a worksheet every time I teach a lesson, just in case, that's when we're assigning it too much. We need to know that it has a purpose. We need to know that it's answering these two questions. It's measuring student understanding, and it's helping my students practice the material in a meaningful way. Right? It just goes back to that. Now, the last question, should I grade every worksheet? The answer is no. Let me tell you a little bit about formative and summative assessment. Worksheets, I believe, should be formative assessments. Formative assessments are little assessments you give throughout a unit or throughout a lesson if you're splitting up a lesson amongst 3 days. Whatever you have, formative assessments are the little ones that you don't put a grade to, that they're not being judged on. They help you understand, and they help them practice. And then you have the summative assessment, and that's the one that comes at the very end of the unit. That's the big test. That's the one that they either know it or they don't, and that's it. So if you think about formative and summative assessment, you as the teacher, you are trying to figure out what they know and what they don't know as you're teaching it, so you can go and reinforce those concepts. But at the very end, when you give the summative assessment, you're done with the unit. You're not going to go back and teach it. That's it. It's done. Just like a cook. When he's making a soup, he could test it in the kitchen. He could taste it and say, oh, it needs this, it needs this. But once it goes out to the guests, the chef's hands are off. It can't do anything more. So don't grade things that are formative. Grade things that are summative. Grade things that come at the end, after each student should know all of the material, after you've taught it, so that every student knows it. So bringing this all together, I know that creating your own worksheets, it seems like a time-consuming task, and honestly, it might be at the beginning. Creating your own patterns and formatting worksheets might be a bit to get used to, but the bottom line is this. You were hired as a teacher because you are a professional. You're a professional. You have a degree in this. You of all people know what you're doing. Most importantly, you're the only one who knows your students and what they need. Creating your own worksheets is all about making sure those needs are met in the best possible way. That's your job. It's what you were hired to do. It's what you were trained to do. So thoughts? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Here are some questions that you could consider answering in the comments below. Do you believe that writing your own worksheets is worth it? Or would you rather just get it from Teachers Pay Teachers or from your Basil Reader or Basil curriculum? And why? Are there worksheets that you've come across for your own grade level that have just been golden for you year after year? And what tips would you give to new teachers to help them create or select an effective worksheet? Thank you so much. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and subscribe.